Let's do it.
All right. So I figure why not talk about the most interesting thing that's going on right now, or at least I heard of, was some quarantine projects. So right now we're obviously aware, if you don't know, I don't know where you have been, but obviously we are in a global pandemic right now due to the COVID-19 coronavirus. And so it seems like the world is trying to be on pause, or everything else is taking a pause, specifically the film and television industry. So things that were once in production have taken a pause, or things that, required a lot more technical aspects are being stalled a little bit until we can see some shining light at the end of the tunnel in regards to the pandemic right now. But with the offset of that, we've been able to check out a couple of notable projects. You know, listen to podcasts, ultimately create from our homes or from small groups of people, mask applied, of course. But one news that I heard in relation to quarantine projects is from Zendaya Coleman. So recently, Zendaya
I did not
Coleman,
know
some
her
news
last
has,
name was Coleman. That's crazy.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So recently, Zendaya, some news have come out that Zendaya has bankrolled a quarantine project titled Malcolm and Marie, starring herself and John David Washington. And it also has the director of Euphoria involved in the project as well. It was a
Sam
quaint
Levinson.
Yes, it was a quaint project in regards to them filming at her house. She was one of the largest people to bankroll the project, and they said there's not too much details surrounding the project other than the fact that it is supposed to be a love story that is kind of reflective of the Marriage Story that had hit Netflix and had all the accolades and nominations, but it also will cover some like timely issues that we are experiencing right now. And so, yeah,
Well, it
I'm
says
excited to
that.
see this.
No,
I'm
yeah,
excited.
it says that Zendaya reached out to Sam Levinson, and
Mm-hmm.
within 6 days he wrote a script.
Yeah, yeah. And they filmed from like June 17th, I believe, to July 2nd. So she reached out, he drafted up the script, quickly got into pre-production, got into production for like less than a month, and boom, that was that.
It
But
says
yeah, I'm
Kid
excited to
Cudi
see
is
the
a back.
project.
No, for sure. It says like Kid Cudi's a backer along with Washington Levinson. That's interesting. Hey,
Mm.
bro, what's your opinion of Washington as an actor?
I think he's a good actor. Um, I feel like people try to compare him too much to his father or other notable actors because of who his father is. And I don't think you can necessarily do that yet because he doesn't have the filmography. He doesn't have that catalog of body of work so where we can see him grow over time. From my recollection, I only am aware of him starring in two things off the top of my dome, and that's Ballers, and that featured Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and that was
Yes.
a HBO show, I think. And then you have Black Klansman, which is a Spike Lee project. So memory wise, I only know that he starred in two movies, and then he's supposed to be starring in Christopher Nolan's project, Tenet, but that's delayed.
No, like my song in Ballers is probably the first time I ever saw him. I
Mm.
had no idea that was Denzel Washington's kid. Just,
What do you think, Phil, about his acting? Since you want to put somebody on the spot,
I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. Black Klansman, to this day, I have not watched it all the way through. If we're being honest, I've
is it
started it a
because of
couple
his
of times.
acting
It's not
or
even
the
because of the
story?
acting. It's just like all I don't know. Like I know it's good. Like it's won awards and whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. Like it kind of has me nervous for the Christopher Nolan film. If I'm being honest, I know we were
Mm-hmm.
talking about this on like a different show, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, man. I'm
I don't
interested to
know.
see what he does with Zendaya on this. So we
I
don't know when
know
this is coming out.
There's not a definitive date. When I went to go research the project, from my understanding, there's not a definitive date for it yet. I'm hoping that it'll be sometime this year, but ultimately, I mean, it's to the discretion of the people who backed the project. So yeah, you should definitely check out the article. They go a little bit more in depth about the project by Deadline, Reopening Hollywood, how Zendaya, John David Washington, and your four creators started a secret movie during pandemic. So if you want to read into the details of how they were able to shoot this with the pandemic and what brought about the project and so forth. That's it. But those are the only details that are provided to us right now. Like, there's not even a full, like, even tagline or logline for the project. So it's very hush hush. But ultimately, I feel like if you're going to create a project during quarantine, you got to release it during quarantine. So I don't want to hear about you creating this project now and then you release it 2 years later or a year later. What fun is that? So hopefully it's sometime this year.
Kind of
Hopefully
defeats
it's
the
sometime this
purpose.
year. It definitely defeats the purpose. But that's how these Hollywood professionals do. Honestly, that's how they do. I know Christopher Nolan's kind of like frustrated right now because he wants to release Tenet, and like they're
They
like,
like
bro, you
pushed
can't
it back
release
3
Tenet.
times.
Push it back 3 times. You ultimately just say like release date pending, and it's also, and we know why it's pending is because of the pandemic. But I think it's just they have the added pressure of the fact that the movie cost millions, like major millions, to produce. And so they're trying to make sure that they at least hit theaters so where they make that back and then some, which I understand, because if you just try to put it on, a streaming platform, there's a high chance that you're not going to get the monetary amount in which you spent to produce the body of work.
I think
But
also too, Christopher Nolan, I think he really wants his films to be seen in theaters. Like, notice
yeah.
he shoots a lot of stuff like in the film. I know with like
Mm-hmm.
the award shows when like who started like competing for like Oscars or whatever. I
Mm-hmm.
remember he and what's his name? The GOAT in terms of the big movies, the mainstream movies, the GOAT.
Steven Spielberg,
Yeah,
John
yeah.
J.J.
Steven
Abrams. Okay.
Spielberg. Steven Spielberg and him were basically hating on like the streaming services. So I know he's really big about like the theater experience. So even if
Mm-hmm.
it was, I feel like it would make a ton of money on
Yeah.
services. But I feel
I
like he
feel
just
like
wants
the
the
success of
experience.
Inception, like Inception is to this day is a really well talked about movie by Christopher Nolan.
Mm-hmm.
And to know that it is kind of like not necessarily a sequel to Inception, but it's kind of like another installment to that type of story or like vibe, makes it attractive already to audiences, and to see the actors who are in it, not specifically John David Washington, but Robert Pattinson. Robert Pattinson is a pretty good like independent film actor. He gets his accolades and which is crazy. He went from like the Twilight, went from Harry Potter to
Same.
Twilight, and then to all these independent type of stellar bodies of work. So I think Inception pretty much was like, oh, you got this coming out, and then it deals with time, so it's also going to be very interesting. Instead of Inception, it dealt with the dream state, so now it's dealing with time, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I'm excited for that project as well as this quarantine project, Malcolm and Marie. But